I've been asked a couple of times, what is the best weapon to have in this game? And that's something that I don't believe that there's really a good answer to. A lot of it boils down to play style and skill and other things. If you've noticed in my weapons, I generally go for the precision weapons, just because that's how I try to do things. But I also have a certain design philosophy going on. Before I discuss that, I want to talk a little bit about bad weapon design. So here I've come up with a pair of weapons that when taken together is really bad. And they're individual pieces, not so bad, but taken as a whole, they're just crap. So I have the ripcore. I actually use the ripcore, and it's, you know, it's a good weapon. And then I have the knife, the hydraulic engine on the bottom, the melee weapon. It has a couple of crafting options, I believe, on the heavy frame, the two-handed frame, which is the sword, which is a vertical slash, and then the hammer, which is a horizontal slash. That's really, you know, it depends on you know, which way you roll. Then for your ripcore, you either have the projectile or the suspended blade. And I'm specifically choosing the suspended blade to demonstrate something. On the other end, I have the survey charge, which I also use, but I have the rail accelerator, which is just simply knockback. And on the bottom, I have the plasma core, which is, again, a low damage weapon. Each of these individually can be really, really powerfully used. When taken as a 4-unit whole, not so good. So let's look at the knife first. So there's this dude coming at me, and if I have really good timing, I can take these guys down forever. Or maybe not. So I'll use ripcore, and everything gets nice and toasty. You know, that's what it is. It's not bad, but notice that if anything's coming at me, well, you know, what am I going to do? Well, I can wait for him to come at me. But I'm also going to end up going through a lot of ammo while I wait. Notice that if I run out of ammo really quickly on the knife. But basically, if anything is at range, I'm stuck waiting for something to come at me. Before I can really do anything about it. Because I have to shoot them with their own limbs. And also, the thing that I want to emphasize the most is that I spent a lot of time reloading the bottom weapon, reloading your melee. Ammo box would probably be really helpful for that in a hectic fight, but, you know, it is what it is. Again, here, I have, you know, the force shotgun, which is really, really nice, and I'll demonstrate that. And then I have these telemetry charges, not the survey charges, which do some nice knockback. Indeed, I can pretty much keep things far away from me for as long as I like. There's just a problem with that. I'm going to be shooting at them forever. You know, in never getting anything done. And then there is the issue of this dog out there. So he's at range, and so I shoot the blade at him, and it does nothing. And then I swing my sword, and I can put on my patent wizard robes, and nothing's going to happen. So that's why this is a really bad combination. I cannot control anything at range. The only fight that you can successfully do is the boss fight against the moon, because you do everything with a TK unit anyway. So bad combination. And the reason why that's a bad combination is because you have a lot of control at very short range and absolutely none at long range, which is why I go with the weapon combination that I do. You know, if I switch this for almost anything else that gives me long range, like, well, you know, like the telemetry spike. You know, this is the javelin gun basically. With this gun, you know, all I've done is change one component, but that's going to make all the difference in the world in making the combat effective. Because, you know, he's up to my face, I can't do anything about it. But notice that by combining the two ideas of the short-range control of the plasma core and then the javelin gun, I can maintain control over both short-range and far-range. And that's got to be your basic fundamental design philosophy, you know, when you're making your weapons. After that, everything else is just, you know, making stuff work properly. So that's really all I want to say. When you ask me, you know, what's the best weapon, there is no right answer other than what works for you. But you need to have a fundamental design philosophy that's going to work for anything in the game. Again, excepting the last boss fight, because that's, you know, that fight is trivially done. And if you'll notice, in the weapons that I use in the game myself, that is exactly the philosophy that I have. I have a sniper rifle mixed with a weapon that allows me to do, you know, push things away from me. Yes, it shoots out mines, but on impossible in later areas of the game, you know, well, for one thing, you know, they miss it. But it also does almost no damage. So I use it not to kill them when I use it as a mine. But I use it to keep things away from me. And trust me, it one-shots them now when they're up close. It absolutely does not towards the end of the game. I really found that there's a difference in power levels. You know, so that, I mean, that's my philosophy behind this one. Here, I do have the ripcore, which doesn't push anything away from me. But notice that coupled with stasis, and a high hit rate, it does help me control things. That stasis unit and the high fire telemetry spikes, you know, that I put to really good effect on the crab fights, allow me to really control the mob. I mean, I think in one of my videos you see where I have the crab just sitting there doing nothing for very many seconds while I'm just sitting there pouring telemetry spikes into its face. It's because of the stasis, and it helps me keep that philosophy of control. I can do damage to it while I control the fight. And if all you have are short-range weapons, you're not going to be able to do that at all. There's one other module that I would like to talk about, and that is the... let me rig it up. Okay, we'll put a survey charge on top, and this drops mines. I know that those are the knockback mines, but that's not what I'm interested in demonstrating. The Canister Recovery module is probably the least useful module that I can think of. So I shoot out a mine, and I'm going to recover it. It turns off, and notice it goes away. You get one piece of scrap metal back. That piece of scrap metal sitting up there, that was from a mine that I put up on top, recovered, and then couldn't get the scrap metal back. And I haven't been able to TK that bit of scrap back. So I think that the only place that module would be of any use is when you're trying to sneak around the cannibal guys, the real skinny ones that are like eating food in some areas of the base. If you're trying to sneak around them and you accidentally shoot out a mine and you decide you don't want it to explode, you could use it then, but I think I would, in the end, just rather kill them all. There's one other special module that's out there that people may not really pay a lot of attention to, and that is the electrocution module. I haven't tested all the places where it works, but I mean, I guess you could go through and do that. So it works with the telemetry spike, and that seems to be about... Oh, and the ripcore. So I would imagine if you used it with the ripcore and you shot the saw blade out, so you didn't use a suspended field, you know, it would work fine for that, and it would electrocute the last guy. So keep in mind, if you're trying to make the classic javelin gun and you haven't found the schematic for it yet, or you haven't noticed it, that's how you do it. And you know, it can be used really, really well. I would imagine that if you combined it with the flame or the acid, it would put out a lot of damage after the fact. So to sum up, and I'll put this in the description below, there is no best weapon. There's just really bad combinations that you can always avoid if you have good design philosophy. Long range damage and short range control. And if you mix those in both your weapons so that each one can do both of those roles, you should have no problems whatsoever with the game, unless you get so overwhelmed that your gear just isn't good enough. But you know, that should help give you a good basis for where to go from there.